welcome back to Franchi Talks Japanese Art. I am Franchi and I'm back with a new video. Today's video is very special. We're going to talk about music, and I know that the channel is called Franchi Talks Japanese Art, but in general I consider any kind of cultural output, so even video games or music. And the music that we are going to talk about is called Eurobeat. It's a genre that's not very well known, so if you don't know anything about it, don't worry, because I didn't know anything about it either. I only discovered it like last spring, but I fell in love, and I hope that maybe you fall in love with it too. So just let's jump right in. So I could only play the smallest snippet of this song for you because of copyright reasons. But if I were to ask you, where is this song from, where would you say? Maybe you'd think like, well, isn't this channel called Franchi Talks Japanese Art, so isn't this music from Japan? But maybe you think, well, actually the lyrics are in English, so isn't this an English or American singer? But what if I told you that the singer's name is Andrea Leonardi? Then yes, actually, this singer and all of this music is Italian. Eurobeat is a genre which was developed in Italy, but it is also at the same time very strongly bonded to Japan, to the point that it is often described as by the Italians for the Japanese. So let's take one step back and go back to the birth and development of Eurobeat. We go back to the 80s, when in Italy there was a music genre which was being composed by the Italian singers and producers. This music genre is called Italo Disco. And Italo Disco was actually quite popular in Japan, as well as other type of Eurodisco, for example, music made in Germany and other European countries. And this fact, it attracted the interest of Italian music producers, who decided to develop a type of disco music specifically for the Japanese market. And this is how we went from this Vamos a la playa, oh, oh, oh. Vamos a la playa, oh, oh, oh. To this. At first, when this music genre was introduced into Japan, it was differentiated from the previous types of Eurobeat by the name, for example, Flash Eurobeat or Super Eurobeat. And these names were given to it because of its fast tempo. But with time, actually, it just simplified, and it also just started being called Eurobeat. And these days, when we talk about Eurobeat, either in Japan or out, this is the music that we are thinking of. So in Japan, Eurobeat got quite popular, and some compilation CDs were released regularly with new Eurobeat music. And the most famous compilation is called Super Eurobeat, and it became the longest running music compilation series in the world. It ran from 1990 to 2018, and in 2018 there should have been the last issue, which was number 250, but actually it's still going, just with less releases, because now a compilation is only being released once a year. Let's take a moment to look at what are the most important characteristics of Eurobeat music. What makes Eurobeat Eurobeat? So the music and the songs, they have quite a specific structure, It involves an alternation between verses and chorus. This is found in most genres actually. An element characteristic of Eurobeat music is the sabi. Its name comes from the Japanese verb sabi shigaru, which means to remember something or someone, and in fact, sabi is a memorable section. It's a section of synth with no lyrics, no singing, that it's meant to be memorable for the listener, something that sticks in your head. And another characteristic of Eurobeat music is its fast tempo. In fact, it tends to range between 150 and 160 beats per minute. And another specific and characteristic element are the lyrics. The lyrics of Eurobeat are just as energetic and upbeat as the music itself, and they seem to complement it perfectly. Now, regarding the lyrics, I like to categorize them in specific sub-themes. This is of course not an official categorization or division, and depending on what or where you're reading, there might be more or less themes. But this is how I like to think of it. Theme number 1. Love and passion. As with almost every cultural output or media, the protagonist is the king of human feelings, which is love. And the lyrics in the singers, they like to express their experiences, their loves, their passion, their struggles. The love is not always happy. Sometimes it's a bit sad, and also they like to focus on the more physical aspect of love and relationships. And as a hopeless romantic myself, they are my favorite. Theme number 2. Italy and Japan. So, given its very specific context of production and consumption, Eurobeat music focuses on these two countries. Italy is sometimes seems to be used as almost a way to characterize and describe the flavor of the style of the music. For example, Eurobeat is described as the beat of Italian dancing. I think this is really funny because nobody knows Eurobeat in Italy. Nobody dances to Eurobeat. Japan, on the other hand, it seems to be a country which has a super strong meaning and bond to the artists of Eurobeat. In fact, singers and Eurobeat artists, they got their fame and success in Japan, and so they always describe it as a happy place, a place where to party, a place where they love to come back. Theme number 3. Eurobeat, let's take a step right up to the beat. We got to move your hand, Eurobeat. Eurobeat itself. Eurobeat in itself is a real current theme in Eurobeat music. It seems that Eurobeat producers love to sing about what they produce, and usually their focus is about the energy and the spirit of Eurobeat and how it can be enjoyed. Number 4. Energy. Now, energy is kinda related to the theme of Eurobeat itself, but it is true that a great amount of songs talk about the concept of energy and adrenaline, and in a way they are really involving and fun songs, and between you and me, they're also the best workout music that was ever made. Theme number 5. Many Eurobeat songs are focused on the idea of going out to dance, dancing at the club, dancing at the disco, going out on a Saturday night. All of this absolutely makes sense because it was a music enjoyed at the clubs, and it's also a very fast, very energetic music, so dancing seems a very natural thing to do with it. And I would like to mention that in Japanese clubs, when this music was played, it was usually accompanied by a specific type of dancing, which is called para. It's a kind of synchronized dancing, which already had been developing in Japan since around the 80s. Number 6. I'm gonna step on the gas and be a lover. I'll be so quick as a flash. I'll be your hero. Cars and racing. Now, also tied to this idea of energy and adrenaline, there is the theme of racing cars. Many songs focus on the idea of racing, of cars themselves, engine, gasoline. And of course this has to do with the energetic and upbeat ideas and style of Eurobeat, and is also actually tied to another element which I'm going to talk about in a sec. Now, the element that connects cars racing and Eurobeat is actually also how I discovered Eurobeat. And what I'm talking about is a Japanese animated series, an anime called Initial D. Now, I discovered Initial D about 22 years after its first release, namely last spring, and I fell in love with this anime. The anime focuses on the illegal car racing scene in Japan in the 1990s, and it is concentrated on a rural region of Japan, the Kanto region, specifically in the prefecture of Gunma. Now, the areas and the roads in this area are curvy, and there is a lot of mountain passes, and this is where a lot of illegal car racing was taking place. And the anime, which actually started as a comic book series, a manga, focuses on this scene of illegal car racing. And because of the mountain and the landscape, what it focuses on is the drifting style of car racing. More specifically, of course, both the manga and the anime, they focus on the figure of the protagonist, a high school boy named Takumi Fujiwara, and his group of friends, and also his rivals. And all these characters, we see all these characters, we explore their dreams, their relationships, so it's really involving anime. It was a really pleasant watch. But what we need to point out here is that every episode contains Eurobeat background music, and because of the themes of the anime and the energy of Eurobeat, they seem to perfectly complement. In fact, for example, if we think about the passions of the protagonists, their loves, their relationships, their youths, their struggles, and their love for cars, all these things are also covered in the lyrics of Eurobeat. So it's really a great combination. And in fact, Eurobeat music got noticed outside of Japan because of this anime series, and many of the people who love Eurobeat outside of Japan also found out about it and love it because of Initial D. これぞ本物のドリフト。バンダトレノ。早い。あいつめ、またさらに凄みが増してるんだ。Now, we talked about Eurobeat's style and themes, but you might be wondering why is Franchi talking about Eurobeat music. And I think that there are very many reasons to talk about this music genre. Reasons that are not only I haven't listened to any other music in the last 10 months. And I think that Eurobeat raises a lot of questions and a lot of concepts which I think matter and they are worthy of research. The interesting thing is that when I was preparing this video, I tried to find sources, texts, books about Eurobeat, and nothing came up. So instead, I ended up looking at a subject which is called ethnomusicology. Ethnomusicology is the study of why people are musical, and it also focuses on the concept of music in and music as culture. Now, I'm not an ethnomusicologist, so unfortunately, I cannot do a very in-depth elaboration here, although I hope to be able to do that in the future. But ethnomusicology in the recent years has focused on some specific things, and forgive me, but I'm going to read this. Now, Timothy writes in Ethnomusicology, a very short introduction. He points out that ethnomusicology has in recent years focused on the mixing, hybridization and syncretism of musical forms that arguably began along the ancient Silk Roads, became a fact of life in the wake of European colonialism, and has reached unprecedented proportion with the capitalist penetration of the world and local markets and the commodification of labor and social relationships. I think this is incredibly relevant because Eurobeat itself can be read as a form of cultural syncretism. Eurobeat is a music genre which is made by Italians, which is sung in English and which is sold and enjoyed in Japan. Eurobeat is intrinsically transnational, and in its transnationalism, it can challenge certain perspectives, for example, of music as a national narrative limited and reserved to certain groups of people or reserved to a certain territory. And not only it was enjoyed and danced to in Japan, but it also created forms of hybridization. For example, Japanese people themselves eventually started producing Eurobeat, which is distinguished by the Italian one with the name of J-Euro. And the syncretism of Eurobeat is apparent also in its language. For example, the lyrics are 99.9% of the times sung in English. As it was pointed out by some native speakers, the English is not always correct. And for example, the names of the singers are not in Italian as well. Most singers are known by some aliases. For example, Andrea Leonardi produces music under the name of Bratt Sinclaire, and not only basically all of the music producers have an alias, but sometimes they have multiple ones. For example, Giancarlo Pasquini has produced music and is best known by his alias Dave Rodgers, but actually he also produced music under other names such as Mario Ross and The Big Brother, and actually many more, and Hulk Hogan. As it is pointed out in the introduction by Timothy Rice, commodification and commercialization of music are of course factors and influence this transnationalism aspect of music. In fact, as we pointed out earlier in the video, Japan was a good market for Italian disco music, such as Italo disco, and the choice to develop a music genre specific for Japanese public was surely influenced by monetary reasons as well. I think that all of these aspects are actually very interesting, and they are all worthy of more research. Unfortunately, I haven't done any written or academics research on this topic yet, and so I'm not going to talk about them more at length in this video. We can consider, I think, this one a small intro to Eurobeat music, and in case I end up finding more sources or writing something about Eurobeat, I will just make another video, Eurobeat video number 2. For now, I will just leave some links in the description down below to Eurobeat artists' official channels, so you can have a listen. Maybe you will love it as much as I do. If you like it, make sure to let me know in the comments. Maybe I made you discover something cool. Of course, also write it in the comments of the artists, because everyone deserves more love and support. And I will make sure to link in my description also links to my Instagram and my Facebook in case you want to keep in touch. I will link my Ko-fi website so that you can support me if you would like, so I can make more videos. And don't forget to subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more. You can choose to do that. But for now, it's time to go. I hope to see you again soon. Bye!